Today we have Barrett with Adalo here, and he's going to talk to us all about just the no-code movement, no-code tools. He's going to dispel some myths that you may have. He'll be able to answer all your questions. And then super cool, he's going to actually show us how you can build an app using Adalo. As I was mentioning earlier, not being able to code is one of the biggest barriers to entrepreneurship that many of us face. And it's crazy because there's like cool tools like Adalo that exist that can help you take your idea out of your head and make it a real business, a real app. And so if you are here and you haven't pressed go on your idea, or maybe you have a website, but you also want a mobile app, then I'm really happy that you came, because this information or this workshop is going to be filled with a lot of gems, and I think you'll be able to walk away with some good information to help you move forward in your business. So before I introduce Barrett really quickly, if you have any questions already, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll make sure that we pull them out, and that we get them answered at the end. All righty. Barrett, who is our co-host for today, he's actually a former founder, and so he's co-founded several VC-backed startups in Canada, Kenya, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and a few other places. He's embraced the no-code movement for a while now, and he joined the Adalo team just about almost 2 years ago, and he's over their partnerships. And so he's a huge believer, and he's super passionate about just using no-code tools. And so today he's gonna just share more about what that means and how you can take advantage of something like Adalo. All righty, Barrett, I think I have you here.
Cool, Brittany.
Hey, Barrett.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. How's it going?
It's going well. My internet is maybe imperfect, so if it's causing me problems, let me know, and I'll try to change my Wi-Fi networks. Okay. So what I first want to start with is just to kind of like share a little bit about no code, and maybe I can kind of use my own journey with no code as context. So like my own background was running technology startups, and but I'm not technical myself. I didn't know how to make apps. Like I never thought in my life I'd be able to like actually like make a technology product for myself, because I just didn't think my brain was wired that way. But it was really annoying because I had all these ideas of technologies that I wanted to make, and it was frustrating that I felt like my own like the way I would execute on one of my ideas for technology would be that I'd like literally have to go out, with like a co-founder, raise like venture capital money, build like a team, release a product, and only then would I see if actually like it was the right product for the market. And it felt like a huge amount of work when like I just wanted to see if people liked the idea. So I had the bad fortune in my last startup, which was like an Uber for on-demand vehicles in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We ran out of money, and I had to start my life over again. And this was just the beginning of 2020. And my friend had told me about this tool, Adalo. Adalo is a type of no-code tool where the product that you come out on the other end is like a finished app. You can be exporting an app for the Android Google Play Store, for the Apple App Store, or just like make like a website or desktop app. But the way you go about it is you don't enter code to build your product. You're doing what's called like no code or visual software development. And to me, like this has been an extremely liberating thing, because it means that there wasn't this barrier. It's like, imagine you wanted to like write an essay for university. The first task was you had to learn German. Well, of course, that's like going to really get in your way. And with this Adalo tool, it feels like now I can actually just go out and start building. So I started building like tons of apps. I've actually been like running my own startup built on Adalo that's actually gotten some funding, but I've become so passionate for Adalo and the general no code movement that I've actually decided to start working for Adalo and doing meetings like this because I think it's a really great thing to spread. So what I'd like to actually do is in front of you, quickly create a Twitter. And I'll give you, don't try to feel like you've got to follow along or take notes or anything. Brittany, I'll share with you after a guide on how to, that people can follow along and like kind of do it like Lego. And I'm happy to take questions at the end. But basically what I'd like is to kind of show you from start to end what it would take to make an app like Twitter. And I could have just as easily built Instagram or WhatsApp or something completely new. And what's really powerful is this entire idea of the no-code movement. I mean, it's my belief that this is the future of consumer-facing technology. And if you pick it up now, you're early. It's very rare to be early at a technology movement, but it's still early. And you get to be a pioneer. And like what's actually possible and impossible has not been defined yet. And what's really powerful with tools like Adalo is they don't exist as like a single product, because you can integrate them with other products and expand them together. You can develop business apps. So for example, actually with Adalo, I've made an app that we have like a freelancer website, and I'm actually using Adalo as the back-end server for pairing freelancers to customers, and then for being the marketplace where customers find freelancers, leave reviews, manage the relationship. Let me show you the tool and you can kind of see. It's really like, it's more about what is your limitation on yourself and what is the tool limited to. So can I share my screen, please?
Yeah, actually, Bear, before you do that, we have one of our founders in our community that's using and so I wanted her to come on and everybody, I'll introduce her.
My apologies. I saw that in your agenda, but you passed this over to me. So I'm like, okay, I guess it's time to get going. My apologies.
Yeah. No, we'll get started with a Twitter clone in just a second. Everybody, I want to introduce you to Tatiana Shanklin. She's the founder and CEO of SWIM, which is an acronym for Suites Workflow Management. Managed efficiently. Excuse me, I'm gonna say that again because I don't want to butcher your name, but it's Suites Workflow Managed Efficiently. And so SWIM is a software platform that allows salon suite landlords to manage compliance, risk, streamline their operations, and then just leverage community. And it's all in one platform. And so prior to SWIM, Tatiana actually was a licensed cosmetologist, or she still is, but she worked as a licensed cosmetologist and a suite renter for over a decade. And so her experience doing that is really what inspired SWIM. And so fun fact, she's actually using, is it Adalo? My Texan accent wants to call it something else, so my bad. But she's actually using this no-code platform to build her app. And so I wanted her to come on, show you what she's building. Barry, if you have any feedback for her or any tips on how she can just make her app even better, please let her know. But if I'm correct right now, we're still in the building stages of it. It's not complete yet. I believe so. So I'm going to bring Tatiana up here. And when you're ready, you can just share your screen. And I'm going to let you guys just get to it.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So I'll be really quick. So like Brittany mentioned, all I know is hair. I've been doing hair since I was 16 years old. That's all I know. But when I made the transition from just being an operator to more of just ownership, I still love hair, but what I'm trying to build for my family and, create generational wealth, I can't build it behind the chair. So as I made the transition, my first concept was salon suites with the technology component. But just after time, I made a pivot and I just solely focused on my technology. And so I was just stuck with, okay, because, most investors, they want to see either some type of traction, either users or, you know, revenue. And I didn't have any of that. So just kind of battling with, should I try to raise money, or should I just need to hit the ground running? And that's kind of what I was dealing with. And that's what I chose. Like, let me see my different options of building this out the most affordable way possible, because I still am bootstrapping. But that's when I came across, for one, before I didn't find, I think it's Adalo. I didn't find their platform first. I found a firm that builds on Adalo. So I ended up partnering with them. And first I took a stab at it myself, just figuring it out. And I've created websites on Wix, which is also a no-code platform. And I've been successful with that. So when I took a stab at Adalo and kind of just played with it, I kind of figured it out. But then I found a firm that could do it for me. So I was like, oh, Lord, let me hire them. And so I went on and hired them. And currently we are in the MVP is done, but we're still kind of back and forth with, oh, okay, well, I want this to be that way, kind of just making those little corrections. But he started like full-time working on it, maybe, what this month? He's been working on it maybe less than a month and a half, and we're already done. And I have like all of my features spent, not even, because to build it out with the traditional tech stack, it was going to be around like 250,000, spent not even near that. It was still in the 4-figure range. And it's just because I hired someone. If I was to still go in and just do it myself, of course, it'll just be me hosting paying the hosting fee. So yeah, that's my experience. It has really helped me just stop being in that ideation phase and really get the ball rolling. That's it.
Hey, Tatiana, do you have your app up?
Oh, yeah, I do have a few
Yeah, let us see what you've been doing.
screenshots that we could share. So my app is, like Brittany mentioned, let me exit out of here. I help salon suite landlords just streamline their operations, like where they collect rent payments and submit maintenance requests or receive maintenance requests, or just talk to the tenants, like what they're currently using. Most salon suites haven't adopted technology. And for those, so they're still like putting money in an envelope, slipping it under the door, sending an email if my sink is broke, sending a text. And for those who have adopted technology, they're using multiple systems. So they're doing payment through ACH, they're doing maintenance through an app called Upkeep. Some landlords use Asana as well. So they have an expensive IT landscape. They're spending tons of money on all of these different software. So my solution just helps streamline all of that. So how it's built out, the landlord's perspective or the landlord's face is through a web app, and then what the tenants see is through a mobile app. So I'll show you first this is the landlord's, and it's not what the consumer sees, it's just how it looks as it's being built out on Adalo, you know. So this is it, and it's kind of like a whole puzzle. Like once you create like one screen, you got to get it to connect to the next screen. So these are just kind of all of the different screens and how they connect. And I guess it's called like the input output situation. And then I'll also share what the tenant's end looks like. Oh, okay, I think it's 2 of them. Okay, yeah, so this is what the tenant mobile app looks like. So once again, it's just all still connected, because it's once I click one thing, it leads to another. So that's where like all those lines, but I'm sure Barrett can explain that way better than I can. Let me stop sharing.
You should show the preview so they can actually see like how the app works.
Oh, okay. I have to log in. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. This is the landlords. This is what the landlords see. How do I, oh, I guess I just press X to stop sharing these previous screens. It's loading. I don't want to take up too much time. It seemed like it's taking forever to load.
Try just clicking share. Okay, it's okay. Sorry.
Okay, let me try just once more and then just see if we could get further along. Is this the previous one? Okay, yeah, it's kind of taking forever to load.
There's like this joke that whenever you're trying to show technology in front of other people, it just never works properly. It's like a fact.
I would try once more. I opened on a new screen, a new private browser. So let me try once more. It's working a little better here. Okay, I think it's working. Let me share. Okay, so I've already kind of done here. I've done the login information. And so the landlords do have the option to have, of course, this is all fake information, but they have the option to have more than one location, because most of the bigger franchises have more than one location. So here, of course, this is home, and this keeps track of all of my tenants, what suite it hasn't been added yet, but here I can just add what suite they're in. And then it shows their category, whether they're a barber, hairstylist, esthetician. And it also keeps up with the compliant risks. So like their professional license, their mini salon license, their renter's insurance, all have expiration dates. So we get notification, well, the landlord gets notifications when these items are about to expire. Go back home. And these are just like the maintenance requests. You can see it's no maintenance request right now. And these are just, this bottom chat is where the landlord can speak directly through the tenant without having to use like text messaging or email. And I can like create a chat and be like, hey, whatever, and it'll send, and the tenant will get a notification that they have messages. And this is the amenity request, where the tenant can book like the conference room or the social media room. And this is just a marketplace that I've added. If you kind of imagine like the Facebook marketplace, where you kind of resell things, and this will be for the community as well, because being that most salon suites have a community of 60 members, of course, if you know the people, you mostly only know the people surrounding, your floor or whatever. So this kind of helps if I have extra color, or if I have, whatever. And it also is another kind of stream of revenue for the tenants. And this is maintenance requests. There's all of these will have no maintenance requests because I haven't went in. And this is just kind of the lease that each tenant will sign. And it also will show like when the lease is up. And these are just events for the actual community, the salon suite location, whether they're having like a mixer or a new tenant meet and greet. And this is the CRM that kind of keeps track of just the new prospects and like where we are, like whether if we spoke to them or whether they toured the spot, how they found us. this is the business ecosystem and of course customer support in the profile. So we really have a lot of our features built out. Like I mentioned, we're just kind of going through and kind of fixing, you know, a few of the bugs and just kind of getting finalizing if I want these colors or just, you know, small things like that. But yeah, I have a fully functioning, working app with no code. And I'm gonna stop sharing.
Congrats, Tatiana. This is really dope. Y'all, I've been knowing Tatiana for a while, and I remember when we reconnected maybe about a year ago, she was telling me, I saw that she was working on this. And so it's cool to see like all the progress that she's made. And so I can't wait until, you know, lunch date so that way I can help you get some salon suite owners on board.
Thank you. And one more thing too, if any, well, I'll put the company that I use if you guys want to try it yourself or if you want to hire somebody to do it on this platform. I can put the company that I'm working with. They do offer payment plans and deposits, and they're really great. They communicate well. So I'll add their information also in the chat.
Yeah. Tatiana, what is the name of the guys you're using?
They are Round Pegs. Are you familiar with them?
So it's actually like my job at Adalo to like manage all of those guys. So for sure, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, one of the developers was supposed to come on with us today, but he kind of had a conflict in scheduling. But yeah, I still would like to give you their information too as well.
Well, thank you, Tatiana. I'm gonna unpin you, and you guys, if you are just now joining, we have Barrett here from Adalo, and he's gonna just share more about the no-code movement. He touched on it a little bit earlier, but right now, I believe what he's getting ready to do is just show you how you can use this platform to build out an app. And so he's gonna build a Twitter clone for us really quickly, and you'll see pretty much how easy it is. And so I'm gonna let you have at it, Barrett. Just let me know if you need anything.
Cool. So first off, like my apologies if my internet is not great. I'm in Beirut in Lebanon, and sometimes it just doesn't work that well here. So my apologies. If it is bad though, send a message on the chat. And I've got a couple of different internets, so I'll try changing it. So what I normally do is I just like quickly build Twitter and kind of like just talk through what I'm doing while I'm doing it. And then I give like a guide to it, but I can also kind of build anything. So if anybody has like a strong opinion of what you'd like to see built, you know, maybe we can just take 60 seconds and put it in the chat. And if nobody, you know, like Twitter's, like I can do Twitter, but if somebody has an idea of something, like we can also try working through that. And I might be a little bit more sloppy because I haven't done it yet, but then it would be a more practical exercise to actually kind of see. So speak now or please hold your peace. Okay, wellness app. Oh, a Facebook group. Okay. There. Yelp style app. Okay. Brittany, what should we build?
Oh, this is hard. I love all these ideas. Maybe Uber.
So I can tell you today we can't build Uber because we don't have the ability to use the what's called geolocation, but it's the next feature that's coming out for Adalo. And like myself, like I'm really excited for it. And I actually have all these app ideas like I'm going to release like the day it comes out. So like for sure, like it's coming. And like what's cool about being like an early adopter, like the challenge of being early is that like you've got to deal with the fact that like the ecosystem isn't made yet. But the advantage is like you literally could be the first person to make like an Uber style app on Adalo, and that's like, you know, something kind of like a game change. So like say Tatiana, like for your app, like you could totally make it where it could be like, say like, you know, finding the closest like barbershop, you know, to where you're standing right then for example, or you could be like looking at the stores on the marketplace that are being for sale, and that's not released yet, but it's coming soon. Well,
That's in the directory.
you know, a Yelp,
Yeah, like a Yelp.
I feel like a Yelp one might be kind of good.
Yeah.
Okay, let me share my screen. Sorry, I'm used to Google. So can you see my screen? Okay, so welcome to Adalo. So Adalo actually stands for Ada Lovelace, who is the world's first female software developer. She was from Victorian England. So let's just sign up quickly so like we can see how this goes. So we just do Barrett 124 at adalo.com. Okay, so the first question is, do you want to make a native mobile app or a desktop web app? You can actually make apps that do both, but because we're going to do a Yelp style app, we'll do a native mobile app. We won't do a template, we're just going to do blank. The templates are great when you're getting started off, just to be able to kind of have like some guidance and like some elements to copy in to help guide you. We'll call this Yelp 2, very original. And sure, we can use the default colors. Okay, now this is the Adalo interface. So this is where all the magic happens. So let me first give you a tour of the interface. So obviously this is a big section in the middle. This is so like Adalo was actually built by graphic designers, people using like Adobe Photoshop. And what they'd realized was that they were making these really great prototypes, like these great example apps that were just for show. They didn't do anything, but people were finding them so realistic. They're like, well, what if we can like bring this a step farther to being a real app? So a lot of the influence in Adalo is actually not coming from software developers, but graphic designers. So if you've ever actually used any of the Adobe products, it's very similar. So you can zoom out, zoom in. These 3 screens are the screens we start with, but you can make as many screens as you want. You can just copy and move them around. And then the screens that start, sign up, login, and home. We don't have to use these ones. This is just Adalo trying to have us skip a step by having some work already done. Now, over on the left, this bar, these are all the components you use to actually build with. So this plus is the most powerful thing. It's where you can add screens. So if you want to add a new screen, you can just add it from here and just you click it and it comes out. So screen, well, we can call this add a restaurant. So this will be our add a restaurant screen when we get there. And you can also add components. So components are like the building blocks of what goes into your app. Like basically everything is going to be like a component, and you almost like build like you would with Lego what goes into your app. So if you want to, let's take a look over here. So like, you know, you can put like text, like of course, text is too easy, buttons, navigation. So if you want to put like an app bar at the bottom that links between pages, lists. So lists are really powerful. Like what a list is it's a collection of information that's coming all together. So it's kind of like, so like say we're going to have a database, which I'll talk about in a moment, of restaurants. But then to be true to Yelp, we're going to have a list that shows them all. So like say your Facebook newsfeed, it's a list. Your Instagram homepage, it's a list. TikTok is just a list of videos. So say, for example, if we wanted to do like a basic TikTok, we could just grab say a component like YouTube. So we could just take like a component like YouTube, and then we can make it a list. And now you can see how you'd be scrolling through a list of videos. It's like as easy as that. So the components and like what that space I went to at the bottom, this marketplace, it has like many ideas of like different components. So like, I showed you the YouTube, but like you can almost go through here, and Tatiana, even I like suggest, it's kind of fun just to like see what you can do, because there's many ones you wouldn't even kind of imagine, and every one gives you more options of what you can build with. So it's in here where you could like say Stripe. Stripe is taking payment. So if you wanted somebody to be able to pay on something with your app with credit card, they could use Stripe. Tatiana, this one is a really great one too. Device detector. Device detector allows you to detect if the user's on a mobile phone or a desktop. And then if you build for desktop, it'll show desktop. If it shows mobile, it'll show mobile. Okay, so this is like the kind of like the Lego pieces we're going to be using to build. These are our branding colors, and we can also choose our fonts. These are just the screens we have. This is another representation of what we're seeing here. Now, this is the database. This is the tricky one. I'm going to come back at the end, actually. Settings, you can kind of imagine. Then this is a powerful one too. We're not going to, well, we might get here. This is where you actually publish. So you can publish to Android, you can publish to iOS. So like, I got to say, it's one of the best feelings of like my entire life. Was like the first time I published an app to Google Play. And you'll see that actually to do this, you've got to upgrade. But as one of the promotions for this talk, I think we're giving everybody a 3-month access to the Adalo Pro, where you can be doing you can be accessing all these services. And this final widget is just your analytics. And Tatiana, for sure, make sure you're aware of this one, where you can see the users who are using your app. You can get more advanced analytics if you want, but this is just built in, so it's easy. So before I normally start an app, I do 3 things. I make a list, like a spec sheet, of all the features I want to be including. I do a wireframe, which I usually just take like pen and paper, pencil and paper, and I just draw it, and I'm like the world's worst artist. And then I map out my database. I do these 3 things because it can be very challenging to be having to think while you're building. And it's so much easier to like kind of like already know what you want to be doing. So let's say we're going to make this look like Yelp-ish. So it's going to be, the homepage is going to be a series of restaurants that we'll scroll through. We'll be able to, let's say, add a new restaurant and then leave reviews on the restaurant and see those reviews. And Brittany, feel free to interrupt me whenever we're kind of running out of time. I think we're still doing okay time-wise. So we're going to make this look a little bit like Yelp. Those will be the features, the ability to see the restaurants, see reviews, and leave reviews and add restaurants. We'll see how far we get on all those. So then the final thing is the database. So many people are scared by databases. And I gotta say, like, there's no way getting around that databases can be kind of hard. What I actually do for data, so databases is where your information is stored. This is also called the back end. So like the way it looks is the front end. So it's going to look like Yelp, like the Yelp visual identity is the front end. But then where is all that information stored? You know, if the restaurant is called, Barrett Bob, and it has a 4.5 star rating from 225 reviews, every one of those things needs to live somewhere. And where they live is the back end, which is also the database. So where I've gotten quite good at this is if I just replace database with like Microsoft Excel, and think of it as like, actually, like, what would I be doing if I was like keeping track of all of this in Microsoft Excel? Then I find it's like a lot easier. So if I was to be setting up restaurants so users Okay, users are going to be the users who are leaving reviews. So we're going to need, of course, their email, their password, their username, and their full name. Is that all we need for them? This comes default. I think that's okay for now. Oh, I think we could maybe instead of username, we'll call their handle. Now we're going to have the restaurants. So the restaurants are, of course, going to have a name. They're going to have, let's say, a city and a state. And when this new geolocation feature drops, you'll actually be able to like have this detected automatically. It's going to have an image, of course, like the restaurant image, and maybe it would have many images, but let's keep this simple for now. It's going to have, oh, we'll call this description. And what am I forgetting? Oh, now every restaurant is going to have reviews associated with it. So where a database is a little bit different than a Microsoft Excel or a Google Sheet is that they can kind of like talk together. So your different sheets can talk together. So we're going to make a new collection of user reviews, and we're going to have them actually, so we'll have the text of the review, but then we're going to have every review be linked to a restaurant. So it's going to be linked to a restaurant. And this is a little bit tricky. This decides how it gathers the data, but the way it's actually worded is very good because you have to decide so like, unfortunately, there's no way to making an app easy. Like no code isn't about making it easy. It's about taking out the need for code. And it can still be viciously hard, I've got to say. And that's like, a warning. But because you're new to this, it's also a chance to be a pioneer. And like, you saw Tatiana's like project, like, you can make something really great. And if you kind of put time in, like, it does really like make a lot of sense. So we need to like set up the database relationship. And it's actually going to grab the database different depending on how it's related together. So like say a restaurant, so this is called one-to-many. So a restaurant can have many reviews, but a review belongs to one restaurant. So it's going to be this first one. It's not going to be this one because a restaurant cannot only have one review. That's a lie. A restaurant can have many reviews. And then this final one, it's not that because this is like if you're like liking something, a user could like many restaurants and a restaurant could be liked by many users. But we're talking about reviews. A review can only belong to one restaurant. Okay. Then we'll also have the user who left the review. And then finally, we'll actually have the score of the review. Perfect. Okay, I think that's actually all we need for the database. So why don't we start and actually make our list of restaurants. So the restaurant is going to have the picture of the restaurant. It's going to have the restaurant name. And then it will have the description of the restaurant. And then we'll give it the reviews. There's an app, we could, a component, I think it's, what's it called? Star rating, perfect. Hey, where did my text go? Did I not just have text here? Welcome to the world of bugs, by the way. It's just like a fact of life that bugs are our nemesis. Okay, so this is basically all we kind of actually need. So now we're going to do this magic thing where we make it into a list. So we just highlight everything we want together. You'll see that as you click things, on the left side, things pop up. This is like an action menu. And like, you can just basically click on anything and it'll give you ideas of what you can do. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to highlight everything and we're going to make it a list. Okay, we're actually getting pretty close. You can see it's already starting to look a little bit like Yelp. So now we have to tell the list what it's going to be doing. So the list is a list of restaurants. We said this first text was going to be, so this is called magic text. This can pull text from your database. So it's going to be text that is the current restaurant's name. We said that this picture is going to be the current restaurant's restaurant image. And then we'll have this text be the current restaurant's description. Finally, this is a little bit tricky, so don't worry too much if this one is kind of going over your head, but we're going to actually make the rating the current restaurant's user reviews, review score, average. That is, it's just doing exactly what we said. So you can see what it's saying on the left. It's the current restaurant's user reviews, review score, average. I gotta tell you, when I'm building something, sometimes I stare at these things for like 30 minutes, just scratching my head, but it does get easier the more you do it. Okay, great. So why don't we also make a button that can be add restaurant. We'll add a few restaurants quickly. And you guys can actually even help me add restaurants. Sure. So this, feel free to interrupt me too. Like I don't have my chat open here. So if anything's kind of a mission critical, please let me know. Okay, so we're going to make an add restaurant page. You can see how the pages, so what I just did here was I made this button. So let's actually do that again. My apologies. So I grabbed, and we're going to even extend this. So I grabbed from the components, I grabbed a button. I made it this round one just because I think it looks cool. No other reason than that. And then I want there to be an action when you click the button. I want the action to go to the add restaurant page. So add action, and we're going to link it to the, why do I have two? Because I'm foolish and I made two. We will do the add restaurant and I will delete this one. Okay, so that when you click that button, you're going to go to add restaurant. So when this is just going to be this, so you can do almost anything, many ways, but we're going to make this one just going to be adding a simple form. So again, so a form is a way to add information to the database. So we want to add information to the restaurant's database. So we can do this by using a form. So what is this form data collection for? It's going to be for restaurants. We're going to have the fields be name, description. Let's not worry about city and state, and restaurant image. When you submit it, it's going to create the restaurant. Perfect. And then we'll also have a link back. Let's test how this is working together. So if you could actually all help me, and if you guys could do me a favor and scan this code, this QR code, if you could sign up. So like, so you guys can be doing this right now. So you don't have to use real information, but if you could scan this QR code, and we're going to have everybody add a restaurant together so that we can have a few restaurants. Oh, and I'm going to rename this full name to handle. So of course, this is going to be empty because I haven't added any restaurants yet. But I'm going to click this plus. I'm going to call it Barrett's Kebab. Description: the best kebab on the internet. And let me choose a picture. Ooh, I even have a picture of food. That's okay. Then I'm going to create the restaurant. And thank you guys for already adding some. That's great. Okay, so now, for one, what we just did was we just tested that it works. So it's doing what we want. It's displaying the restaurants and the information, and it's successfully allowing us to add. I like the fact that the other restaurant is called Full Babe. Very good. So now let's make it where you can add a review and see other. Yeah, let's just make it where you can add a review. So let's go back to this, and let's say, let's have a button here. And this button can be review, or see, leave a review is too long for there. So rate, perfect. We can change this to be something like, sure, why not? So what we'll do with this is when you click this button, we want the user to be able to leave a review. So we'll actually so when you click on it, it's going to be adding an action where you're going to link to a new screen. We're going to call this leave a review. And it's here. And we're just going to do that very similar to what it was like for adding a restaurant. We're going to take a form, but where this form on the left was for restaurants, this form is going to be for user reviews. The user review is going to be showing the text of your review and your review score. Now, the challenge with this is I want it to be out of 5. So I'm actually going to be a little bit tricky. Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to go like this. I'm actually going to not use a form. I'm going to have it go to the link, leave a review, but then I'm also going to have it create a user review. The user is going to be the logged in user. The restaurant is going to be the current restaurant. My apologies, it's a little bit tricky the way I'm doing this, but it's because I want it to like look correct with those stars. What we're going to have is you're going to leave the review. So we're going to make a text box for leaving the review. I want it to be multiple lines. We can have it have like default text, like leave your review here. And then we want to be able to also leave stars for that restaurant. So yes, they can set a rating. It's the current user review score. We'll make it bigger. And then we'll have a button. Leave review. And what this will do is so we've already created the review. So it's going to update the current user review. It's going to grab the text from that text box here. So we'll call this text review text. text the review, current restaurant, or sorry, the opponent's review text, and then we'll link back, and that should leave reviews. So let's test this again. And again, if you want to, oh, thank you for adding a few. So like now, see if you can leave a review. So let's rate. It was great. Hey, pretty cool. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Now, it would make sense to be able to see the reviews ranked from highest reviews to lowest reviews. So let's go back to our review list. And right now the sorting is just nothing. So let's sort it by, ooh, it doesn't have that as an option. So I can do it. Okay. Well, maybe we should, so anything's possible, and I can kind of get really wonky and geeky, and I don't want to get too geeky here. So maybe this is a good spot to pause for a moment, Brittany, and kind of contextualize where we're at and think of if I should build more features or if we should have a conversation or ask questions, whatever is kind of like the best use of time. But for sure, let me pause here for a second.
Okay. Yeah, I wanna, let's get into some of the questions, and then we can ask some questions, answer some questions, and then if we have time, go back and then kind of just like go back and forth. We can do that type of thing. All right. So let's see. I've been keeping track of all the questions, and so if for whatever reason we don't get to yours, don't kill me. That means I must have accidentally missed it, but I think I got everybody.
By the way, this picture's hilarious. Where you just happen to have a picture of a shopping cart with like 4 shoes under it.
I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Off and rolling.
Okay, for sure, I'm gonna give this one 5 stars.
So one of our first questions was, since there is no code for ownership using Adalo, who owns the IP, the data, like all of those?
Sure. So all of the IP and all of the data is owned by you, the user, and that's in our terms and conditions. However, it is a truth that you're kind of like, like locked in to the Adalo platform. But that's like, very similar, like, like the internet is unfortunately like full of kind of like, like locked in platforms, but like the data and IP is all owned by yourself. And actually like several startups have like successfully raised like, like quite significant sums of money being based on the Adalo platform. And there's other platforms too, like Adalo is the one I've kind of loved because I think it's the one that for me has been the most easy, but there's also ones called Bubble. There's ones called like Webflow that, have become like very successful. So investors haven't become scared of the IP of no code, but it is a great question. And actually like one of my beliefs is that what we're going to see over the next couple of years is a lot of secondary businesses built around things like this, like security of no code, IP of no code, like the software development houses, best practices. And I think it's going to be quite a lucrative section. Does that answer sufficiently?
I think it was, okay, she said yeah. Okay, great. Okay, our next question was, can users add an app to their phone or their home screen for testing before they actually publish to the iOS? So I guess, yeah, we can, as we just did, before they actually publish it to the
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, and okay, so even deeper than that, so like you can do what you just did, which is like just test the previewer, but also like when you release an app for iPhone or Android, you go through like different processes. So like say with iOS, to publish to iOS, you have to publish through Apple's developer account. It's like kind of like almost like it's just like a store. You go set up for it. To do it, you actually have to pay like $200. I'm sorry. With Google, it's only like $35 but Apple's like $200 to become an Apple developer, but you get unlimited apps to do it on. And then once you're an Apple developer, what you'll do, so when you're in Adalo, you like export your app for like Apple. So you'll actually like upload a file, just like you'd upload a picture into Apple's system, which is like the same way you do with any app. And like, it's the software bundle. With that bundle, you then have a choice of how you release it. So you can make it public and live for everyone, or you could do it as like a subset test, like you could only release it to say a group of test users or like 10% of your user base. Or you can release it specifically with Apple to something called Test Flight, which is an app for testing. It's an app for testing apps, and only people who you give access to are able to test it. So it's definitely great to test things before you release.
Absolutely. Another question that we had from, I think this is from the same person, but are there any limitations in the type of data that can be collected from the users when using Adalo? So like health info, anything that's HIPAA compliant, anything like that?
So like a great question. The way we kind of look at this, the way like our legal relationship with our Adalo makers, and now I'm talking about as being Adalo as the company, it's that we're like a canvas for you. So what you make, it's actually up to you to kind of like have to understand and be knowing your industry. So if you're making an app for like say medical, like a medical purposes, and there's data compliancy issues, well, we didn't, legally, the way it would be seen is like that's an app that the IP is owned by you. It's created by you. You've used our platform, but like it's like you've almost just kind of like used our shell. So it's your responsibility and obligation to make sure you're meeting all compliances. For a lot of things, this is like, like say when you're publishing to Apple or publishing to Google Play, they actually help you out with this a lot. So like say, for example, you need to have like terms and conditions, and like it's, very standardized for terms and conditions. And you can grab lots of them online. And frankly, like that stuff isn't that hard. What I'd also say is like, often it's okay to like, kind of like, I don't know, for myself, like I usually, wait until I have for like just testing basic things. I think it's okay to like, not be fully compliant because you're just basically in a testing phase. But certainly with things like, medical or like, like things with children, you should be careful. And like a lot of things, like say if you're like trying to do like banking or medical stuff, well, those services might actually, to integrate with them properly, you might actually have to be using something called an API. So APIs stands for access point integrations, and APIs are like kind of like the bridges between different technology services on the internet. So like say when you open up an app and you see a map, that app didn't make the map, Google Maps made the map, but they're using an API to grab from Google Maps. So Adalo can play with any API on the world. You can actually use a tool like Zapier or Integromat. And these are no-code API tools that play very nicely. So like what they can do though is you could connect to these third-party services. So like say you could connect to like a bank, or you could connect to medical services, but you need to be able to grab data or push data back to them. You need to be following their security protocols. And if you don't have their security protocols, then you really can't kind of do anything. So it's a great question. And like, this is where you had to kind of almost like be a hacker and like figure things out. But it's a great question. And, it's something to kind of be aware of, but I'd say like, that's like, build a simple app before you try to figure out how you build, your own cryptocurrency.
Another question that we had, and I actually like this question, but are there any types of apps or businesses that Adalo or any other kind of no-code app platforms wouldn't be good for? So like if you have this,
Sure.
use no code.
So I would say like there's kind of like two main limitations. One right now is the geolocation stuff. Like it's just annoying that like you can't grab your location. So like say this Yelp app we just made. If we wanted to build it today, we'd need to enter in our city. It wouldn't grab us. But that is the feature that like is the biggest grab on Adalo right now. And I saw another question saying, when is that coming out? Myself, I don't know, but all I can say is like, like it's not talking about in like 5 years or in 1 year, like we're playing around with it internally and it's coming soon. But another limitation is that the app doesn't store anything locally to the phone. Everything lives in the cloud. So if the app isn't connected to the internet, you have no functionality. This is quite common, like, like say Airbnb. If you try to go to Airbnb without the internet, it doesn't kind of do anything. But this can limit what you can do. So like specifically, like say for myself, I do a lot of work in Africa. It's annoying because like, if somebody's not online, they can't use it. But those are the main limitations I see. There are other limitations, like say with speed, Adalo can kind of be slow. But what's exciting is that there's interesting and new ways to get around a lot of limitations. So like say the limitation of speed, well, it's because you're using Adalo's database. If you want to be faster, you can use Adalo as your front end where you're visually making, but you could use a different database, then it's faster. It can be as easy as that. Myself, like just to reflect on the question for 2 more seconds, like I think actually what's quite exciting is that the creators of Adalo don't actually know what the limitations are. And many things that were assumed to be impossible actually have been proven to be possible. So like it's exciting, and even myself, like several things I've like made, I like was told I couldn't do it. And it was like the greatest feeling to go like, oh, we could do that. So like, we're kind of in an era of like, it's kind of like going back to the early days of technology where people can create something that never existed before. And it could be the very first time something new has been brought into creation.
It's a startup, right? We all know what they're like. Can code be entered into Adalo?
So code is being output from Adalo, which is the opposite question. So like what you're doing is actually like basically being like mapped into, like translated into code. So like Adalo is still blocks of code and like you can actually dig into the code, though it doesn't help you that much. Code can still be entered in for some things. So like say specifically for, I'm not on the paid one, specifically for like API stuff. If you don't want to use Zapier and you don't want to use Integromat, you can actually create custom API links. Remember, APIs are like the bridges to other technology services like Google Maps. And if you don't want to use no-code tools like Zapier or Integromat, then you can create the links yourself. And that's in a program, a tool called, a language called JSON. But if you see these components, there's also this component marketplace, and people can make new components in code, but then they can use those components they've made in code for themselves. So like say there's like something they couldn't find that isn't existing that they wanted to have, like, for example, the star rating, then they could make that, but they could also bring it to the component marketplace and share it with other users to use or sell it, because it's a marketplace. But like you can use code to make components. You can use code to link APIs, but there's actually no space to use code in the Adalo platform itself.
Another question that we had was, Is there a way that we can monetize the apps with downloads or subscriptions?
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, one, when you're putting your app on Google Play or Apple App Store, you can just charge. That's one way to do it. And that's done on the Google side or Apple side. Another way to monetize is you can grab the component. Let's see where it is.
I'm gonna remove myself. I don't think that they can see it. On my end, it looks pretty small. Let me see.
Oh, okay. So, well, no, that's fine. You can leave it as it is. So you can also have like advertisements on it. So you can actually like embed links to Google's advertising platform, so that anytime someone comes to your app, you get a small amount of money from the ad view. So this would be good if you're doing something that's like high traffic, like say you're doing like a blog on, like say for Tatiana's platform, if she was doing like a blog on like the best salons of the country and everybody's coming, well, she could put some ads and make some money. But to your point specifically on subscriptions, yes, you can do that. You can use a component called Stripe in the app. Stripe is a payments platform, and it's like a component just like any other one. But what you do is you basically like in Adalo, you can do things like you can have like say user settings, and you can have like a user status like in the database as like paid or unpaid. If a user is unpaid, they can only see certain things. They could be limited. Say, for example, they couldn't see the button to like a menu that goes to like advanced functionality, like a marketplace. But if they're paid, they'd be able to see that, and you could give them those features. And what you could do is you could make them download the Stripe component, enter in their credit card details, and then if it goes through, it could update the user's status to be paid, and then see that service. Now you could then, for a subscription service, what you'd have is like after 30 days, that would be, permission would be revoked, and they'd need to do it again. And I think Stripe allows for subscription service things. It's actually like more advanced, like you have more advanced functionality than that. Sorry, that was a bit of a text garbage. I didn't say that as well as possible. In a nutshell, you can monetize by charging people in the app. You can monetize by getting revenue from advertisements, and you can monetize by charging to use the app.
Sorry, I was responding to a message. Someone asked Adalo costs. I dropped the link for their pricing in the chat, but if you were here earlier, you may have heard Barrett mention that he's giving everyone 4 months free for the Adalo pricing option. So just keep that in mind as well. Barrett, one follow-up question from earlier: does Adalo get a percentage of any of the revenue that's made? Like if we were to build an app and charge, make money from ads or subscriptions, do y'all get a percentage of that?
We do not get a percentage from anything that happens in your app. If you do make a component, like in this component marketplace, then like we do get a percentage on the components, but I think that's like totally different than what you guys would be doing. So like Adalo doesn't take anything from your apps, just the monthly subscription fee.
Cool. Don't forget, y'all, we'll have time for like a few more questions, but let's see. Okay, so someone said they are interested in creating a Yelp-like app, but it's going to be for plus size outdoor gear and apparel. They wanted to know, will they need to add those items first when they're building their app, or can they upload it later?
So for sure, you can upload it later. And like what you can actually do is you can have, like it's like Tatiana's app. So she had a client side, and she had like an administrative side. So you would make actually 2 apps that would share the same database, And one would be, for the end user. The other would be for like you as the administrator who would like, from a computer or from your own smartphone or however, be adding the goods.
Thank you. Let me see. Hey, everybody, I see that someone mentioned they had to run soon. I'm going to email out that code to you all. That way you can just easily copy and paste it. Okay, so you'll get that email no later than tomorrow for sure, because I want y'all to go ahead and get started building. Another question that I saw, gosh, where was it? Oh, can you integrate like a calendar or software like Calendly using Adalo?
So yeah, for sure. And that would be a great use of a Zapier or Integromat integration. So like, I would assume that, yeah, like that is a great use case. So what you'd have is you'd have the information come. So you could do it a couple ways. There's always like multiple ways to do anything. So like you could have it where like a person could just enter in their name and like the date they want, and then it would be pushed to Calendly, or you could pull your Calendly into Adalo and people could be engaging with it. It would be like another, like that would be a great, so to solve a lot of these, like just the way you kind of like solve a lot of things is like, what I do is I just like search in Google. So if you just like search like Adalo forum Calendly and see what comes up, for sure people will be having conversations like this. And like, sometimes it won't be the exact thing you want to do, but it'll give you ideas. So like for something like that, I would search Adalo forum Calendly. I'd also search like Adalo Zapier Calendly, or making scheduler calendar in Adalo, something like that.
It kind of like what the next question was. Is that the same if someone wanted to integrate a video conference system?
Well, what's easier with the video conference system is we actually have a component for that. So that can be as easy as just dropping in a component, like the same way you would drop in a picture and you're kind of ready to go. So like if a component already exists, so like say somebody made a Calendly component, then that would be easy, but it doesn't exist yet. However, there is a component for video calling and actually doing like audio calls and stuff. So like that, you could make that app in like 5 minutes.
Dope. Alrighty, we have 2 more questions, and then Barrett, I want you to be able to share any last minute things if you have any, news or just anything else you would like to share at the end. Let me see. Okay, so someone wants to know. Oh, speaking of the fees for like getting your app in like the Google Store or the Apple Store, do you know if that fee that you mentioned is a one-time fee or is that a recurring fee?
So with Google, the $35 fee is one time only. With Apple, I believe it's $200 the first time, then $100 a year. Like Apple, as with everything, always charges the most money. But also just keep in mind that that share, like the way, like that share button, like I was sharing with you guys, like that's a great way to just start testing something that people can use on their phone. It's like so cool that you just like scan a QR code. So like that's like a way to get going without even having to worry about having people install your app.
Perfect. Last question. I feel like I know the answer to this, but Barrett, please let us know where to go. Are there any other like tutorials, so video tutorials or blog tutorials that people can watch or read as they're trying to go through and build their app? If anybody is like me, I like to look at stuff, pause, and then build and then go back and forth.
So it's actually like the work that's keeping me the most busy at Adalo right now is that I'm building out our university, our Adalo App Academy, and our target launch date is May 18th. But there's tons of YouTube resources already. So if you just like search like Adalo tutorials on YouTube, you'll find tons of stuff. And like there's a really great community out there. And the goal of my Adalo App Academy isn't to like even like bring so much new material, because there's so much great material already. It's just more trying to bring as much as possible of it to one place.
Dope. I love it. Before I share like one more announcement, Barrett, is there anything that you would like to share, or any updates or any news? I know you mentioned the academy that's going to be coming out, but is there anything else?
I mean, just that, like, I think one of the things that I'm so excited for with Adalo is I think that it can like make a new type of like entrepreneur be able to make technology. Like, I think too often technology is made by a bunch of like, Californian teenagers, and that's actually limited the innovation of what technology can do. It's like frat boys and their friends. And I think that actually Tatiana, I just like think your example is so cool. And Tatiana and Brittany too, I'm actually going to reach out to both of you for like interviews for our App Academy, because I think your stories are so cool. And I think you don't need to make something that necessarily has to be the next $1 billion idea, though you could. And I think that the innovative ideas are still out there, but also like there can be like great ideas that can like make you like $10,000 a month of recurring revenue. Make a forum app for people trying to find the lowest medical payments, and put an ad at the top, and maybe you're making a couple $1,000 a month. So like, don't feel like people think that technology is Silicon Valley and venture capital and $1 billion and Google and Facebook, but you can make whatever you want. So make some new stuff. And like, my excitement is that we might see some things that haven't existed before and aren't going to be the minds from a bunch of 17-year-old white kids from like Berkeley. So make some new stuff.
Amen to that. Well, I'm excited to see what everybody is going to build. Please keep me and the Mogul Millennial and Barrett updated as you are building out your apps. Y'all, when I tell you, like, take advantage of the discounts that Barrett is offering, use it, get that idea out of your head. Don't sleep on no-code tools. I personally use no-code tools, and it's taking me very far with Mogul Millennial. And so, with Adalo and just any other kind of no-code tools that are out there that can help you grow and go from like idea to actual product, take advantage of it. Don't let technology be a barrier anymore if you have. We're going to be doing workshops like this every single month. I'll be sure to email you all when the next one is. The next one will be, I want to say in mid-April. I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but it's with lead pages. So we're going to talk all about like building landing pages, and even if you have a website, why landing pages should still be a part of your business strategy. And so super excited about that. If you tuned in late, you'll get the replay from today sent to your email along with that discount code that I mentioned. So you're going to get 4 months of Adalo Pro. And so super, super cool. And thank y'all for coming and spending your lunch hour, or I don't know what time everybody is in or where everybody's at, but just spending your time with us. Definitely appreciate it. Oh, really quickly, Tamisha wants to know, is there a referral program for Adalo? Forgot to ask that.
There is. So, sorry, can you hear me? There is actually. So I will share with you, Brittany, my email to share with the group, and I'll also share like my Twitter guide, because it's, I think, like one of the easiest ways to learn. But if anybody wants to be a referral, just send me an email and I'll add you. And what we do is anybody who you sign up, you get a 20% revenue share with Adalo for 1 year.
That's a lot. So I'll make sure that I include that in the recap email, everybody. But thank you again, Barrett. I appreciate you. I'm so glad that the internet didn't go out, because this was very, very helpful and informative. And I hope you have, a good rest of your day, and everybody, same to y'all. And I hope to see y'all at the next event.